A new push for an events center plebiscite. Thunder Bay prepares for another major snowfall. And a nail-biter for Team Canada in Olympic hockey action.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Well, the push is on for a ballot box question this fall regarding Thunder Bay's proposed events center.
A concerned city taxpayer says politicians shouldn't have the only say on where a facility should be located or if one's even needed. Leading the charge is Ray Smith. His concerned taxpayers group will hold a public meeting next month on the issue. But as Dennis Ward reports, at least one city councillor says a plebiscite isn't needed at this stage in the game.
The people need to have their voice set, and it's long overdue.
Ray Smith believes people are clamoring to have their say on the proposed event center. His concerned taxpayers of Thunder Bay Group will hold a public meeting next month to discuss having a plebiscite added to the fall election. Smith wants 2 questions on the ballot, one on whether the city should even build an event center, and another on the location.
The cost has, since we first started talking about this, has climbed from about 50 million to 106 million. And the site that the city has chosen is certainly not the site that the majority of taxpayers prefer. And we have all the poll results from all the news media that have ever done a poll on this, and Inova Park has won every single one of them.
Smith doesn't feel a plebiscite is premature, but many at City Hall do. Councillor Ian Angus says the exact costs are unknown and final designs are not complete. He doesn't feel the proposed event center will be a big issue in this year's election, and he can't see council adding a ballot box question on the matter.
We're nowhere near being able to formulate that. So if there was to be a plebiscite, it would have to happen midterm or towards the end of the term of the next council, because it will take us another couple of years before we know all of the costs and all of the variables and all of the ramifications of going forward with an event center.
Angus believes the vast majority support an event center, and while there continues to be debate on the location, he feels it is generally understood why it should be placed downtown. The concerned taxpayers will hold their public meeting on March 11th at the Mary J.L. Black Library. If a plebiscite were to be held, council would need to finalize and approve the question by March 28th. Dennis Ward, TBT News.
Efforts by the Regional Health Sciences Centre to deal with their ongoing gridlock problems have now resulted in a fire code charge being laid. City fire officials announced the laying of the charge this afternoon. It results from placing patients in alcoves to help ease bed shortage problems. Fire Chief John Hay says they understand the hospital has bed shortages, but says they also have an obligation to adhere to fire safety rules. And he calls the decision a poor one that resulted in an unacceptable level of risk.
I can tell you that the hospital corrected the situation immediately when we found out, but it was a serious enough violation that it warranted a charge. They're using the building and parts of the building that were not intended for occupancy, and it makes it more difficult to evacuate people in the event of a fire, and it probably goes against their fire safety plan also, which is approved by the fire department.
Hospital officials have scheduled a news conference for tomorrow to respond to the fire code charge.
Public health nurses at the Thunder Bay District Health Unit spent their lunch hour today holding an information picket in front of the facility. The nurses are upset about the recent reductions in staffing at the health unit, as well as their stalled contract negotiations. Michelle Sufi has more.
Public health nurses are responsible for all the promotion and protection of the various facets of health in our community. The 59 nurses who work here have been without a contract since December 2012. Labor Relations Officer Michelle McCall with the Ontario Nurses Association says they are paid the lowest in the province and calls the contract situation unacceptable.
For our members, that's just way too long without a contract. They work hard in this community, and they deserve to have a collective agreement that mirrors the work that they do.
The two sides met recently, and after days of negotiations, they were able to resolve a lot of the language type issues. But the talks broke on February the 5th without a collective agreement.
Our nurses have given us a clear mandate. They don't want to be on the bottom. They're tired of being the lowest paid. They do the same work.
Health Unit CEO Doug Heath says not having a contract for that long is not that abnormal.
It's just a matter of scheduling and getting dates to get together, and so I think there's been a few challenges as far as connecting with one side or the other, so that's more or less just been part of the normal process.
The nurses also claim there have been staffing cuts at the health unit. Heath admits there have been some restructuring.
There was a reduction of 0.5 nurse in the sexual health program, and then there was a 0.5 reallocation in the Healthy Schools program.
The information picket was held as health unit board members arrived for the regular meeting. The nurses say they hope to get back to the bargaining table soon with a meaningful wage offer. Conciliated contract talks are scheduled for May 21st if the two sides don't reach a deal beforehand. Rochelle Sufi, TBT News.
Motorists on Oliver Road were being redirected today after a water main burst near Lakehead University. The rupture occurred early in the morning, and by afternoon, workers were still trying to determine where exactly the break occurred. A portion of the road near the entrance to the Thunder Bay Regional Hospital was flooded, and the storm drains were working overtime to get rid of the water. Sewer and Water North Supervisor Gerald Luty says crews will need to determine the exact location and cause before they decide whether to dig up the road.
There is no timeline. It's difficult to put a timeline because we have to determine what it is first. More likely it's a air release valve that is froze and split.
Drivers can still access Oliver Road, but there may be lane closures throughout the evening.
A nasty surprise for some moviegoers at the Silver City Theater last night. They emerged to find their vehicles had been targeted by vandals armed with spray paint. Thunder Bay police say they have received 4 complaints of vehicles being damaged, although they acknowledge there may have been more victims who have not yet reported the mischief. Anyone with information is being asked to contact Thunder Bay police.
Concerns about the size of snowbanks in Thunder Bay are increasing once again as the city braces for another 15 to 20 centimeters of snow. City road officials say their staff are working hard to clear the roads, and that takes priority over removing snowbanks on the sides of streets. The city carried out snowbank removal several weeks ago at a substantial cost. Now those banks are growing again, but budget constraints will make it difficult to remove them one more time. City Roads Division Manager Brad Adams says they're preparing the equipment and staff to handle the next load of snow tomorrow, and he says snowbanks may be cleared after that on a priority basis.
Arterial collector streets, basically if there's 5 centimeters of snowfall, we plow those and we pick up snow on those when the travel lane is affected. Our residential streets, it's 10 centimeters of snowfall, we'll plow those streets. We're hoping there's no more snowbank removal, but saying that if it needs to be done, we will be out there doing that. So we will assess those on an isolated or location by location basis.
Adams says prior to this year, the city hasn't had to remove snowbanks for the past 5 or 6 winters.
A Slate River Valley homeowner is keeping his fingers crossed he won't receive another sky-high bill from Hydro One. Henry Ann's received a hydro bill for nearly $1,000 for the month of January. That's more than double his typical monthly cost, and bills like that are making it difficult for the family to stay in their home. The Ann's family's usual monthly bill is around $400 per month in the winter, so they were shocked to see the $973 tab for January. Only 2 people are living in the 3-bedroom core floor home on Boundary Drive. The home uses geothermal heating, but they've been relying a lot on the wood fireplace. Henry says their conservation efforts seem to be useless and feels the billing system used by Hydro One is unfair.
It means a tremendous amount. My wife and I here are both seniors, and we're finding it difficult to maintain the place based on mostly on the hydro bill, and so it presents a tremendous challenge.
Enns has contacted Hydro One, which has allowed the family to pay off the bill in 2 payments. The utility will be going to check on the smart meter, which they say is having connectivity issues. Enns has also contacted the Ontario Ombudsman, who launched an investigation this month into bill problems at Hydro One and shoddy customer service. Andre Merrim says he's received 4,000 complaints so far.
Ontario's New Democrats want to know just how much the province is paying to Deloitte LLP to put together the Ring of Fire Development Corporation. To Today at Queen's Park, Northern Development critic Mike Mantha went after Minister Michael Gravel on the issue. Mantha says his party has been unable to get any answers about that corporation, and he calls it a smokescreen to disguise the lack of concrete government action in the Ring of Fire.
Hiring Deloitte is an admission that the government never had a plan for Ring of Fire development in the first place. Will this government stop giving out consultant contracts to outside firms and do its job by coming up with a serious plan for Ring of Fire development instead of wasting another 5 years?
Thank you. We know that in terms of the project moving forward, we've got to be able to get the resources out of the Ring of Fire and obviously to market. That's why that's so important. And we also, working with our potential partners, certainly including industry, First Nations, and potentially the federal government, hopefully, we recognize that we want to move forward with the kind of expertise that Deloitte can provide to us. They have the governance expertise, they have the legal expertise to be able to pull this together in terms of making the decision on infrastructure.
One of the longest-serving politicians in the Thunder Bay area has passed away. Economy Councillor Robert Riddome died this morning at age 93. Riddome served the township for 32 years, including 13 years as Reeve. Current Comedy Reeve Kevin Holland says their elder statesman will be truly missed by the entire community. Riddome was believed to be the oldest-serving municipal politician in Ontario, as he was 9 months older than Mississauga Mayor Hazel McCallan. The funeral will be held next Thursday at the Quebec Legion.
Patients with the Fort William Clinic have now started using their new location on Golf Links Road. The new facility opened this week and will deliver primary care to about 18,000 patients in the city. It replaces the old Fort William Clinic on McKellar Street and was designed in part with help from healthcare providers. The building took about 2 years to complete, with the clinic occupying 2 of the 3 floors. Clinical officials say there are still a few rough edges to be smoothed over, but all of the regular services are now up and running.
I'll still continue to provide the same services we provided, and I will continue to lead the group in the same way. Although now that we have moved and have more space, we hope to grow our group a little bit more and perhaps provide some more services to our patients.
We now have more, we have a nicer facility to be able to deliver programming, and we're very excited about that. We found that we were outgrowing the old space. It was just not very functional in terms of patient flow, and this seemed a lot better.
Campbell says they have also strived to make the new clinic environmentally friendly.
Almost 500 sons and daughters have been lost to suicide in First Nations communities over the last 27 years. The Embrace Life Forum was created to help young Aboriginal people network, seek help, and find the answers they need. The 2-day event was held at St. Paul's United Church and the Community Auditorium. Organizers say one reason for the high suicidal rates in First Nation communities is the lack of available resources. This event provided many sources of help and answers. NAN Deputy Grand Chief Goyce Kakagamek says when a tragedy occurs, it impacts an entire community.
It shakes the psychological foundation about well-being as a community. So that's what we were dealing with. And then we come together. What can we do then to add to this thing?
We have presenters, speakers. We have counselors available. And it's a way of finding yourself, finding help. And you get to know people.
The event also included workshops on grieving and trauma, art therapy, music, mentoring, and guest speakers who spoke about their own life experiences.